Hi Angela, it's Amy. I received your email with regards to the CSS Designers panel, and I'm hoping that through the demonstration of working with the About Us page in Striped Umbrella that it'll make you feel a little bit more comfortable with what you're selecting in that panel as to your further work with creating CSS styles. So I have the About Us page, and I'm going to first create the floating that is with regards to the image that is inserted on this page. So the first thing that you always want to, a couple things that you always want to be aware of when you're working with the CSS Designers panel. Number one, if you do not see all of your sources here, including maybe some embedded styles with a style tag, you need to make sure that you have clicked the all. If I'm currently on this image and I click on current, all I'm going to see is the styles that are associated with that particular element that is selected on the page. So if I want to see all the styles, it makes sense that I need to go into all. Now another thing too is that if you're in a file on the related files toolbar such as SU styles, you're only going to see SU styles. You're not going to see the other files that are associated with the About Us page. So make sure that you're always on source code so that you can see both of them as well. So source code and all. Now from there, you want to always make sure that you're working with the correct style sheet before you go into the media side and the selector side. So in Striped Umbrella, we're always going to be working with SU styles. We never want to update anything in boilerplate.css in any of our websites. So just the style sheet that you're working with, SU styles, blue or BB underscore styles, TripSmart underscore styles, and then CS underscore styles for coffee shop. So then you have to make the decision based on the directions or based on what you're trying to apply, which media query do we work with. So global is the smartphone. So everything we define globally is designed for our little smartphones. So that's where we just start our designing, is globally smartphone level, and then the next level is tablet, and the next level is our desktop. So we define everything globally, and then if we need to redefine any other styles, then we go into each one of these media queries. Typically you're either going to do something for global, and then you're going to redefine it in tablet, and then tablet is going to inherit its styles into desktop. Okay, it trickles down. So let's go ahead and set up the image float. So to do that, I click on the plus symbol, and I'm going to type in period img underscore float. Now the reason I put a period there is because it's considered a class. You'll notice that right above it, it says header 1, header 2, and header 3. These were actual HTML tags, so we don't prefix them with a period. Anything that's not an HTML tag, we always put a period in front of it because it's a class. So from here, then I have to decide which properties I'm going to set up. So I always click the unshow set. So unclick it to see all of the available CSS properties that I can style. So here we're going to work with floating. So at the global level, which again is your smartphone, you wouldn't want to be able to float anything because it's very small in screen real estate. So we want to click on none when we're at the global level for these floatings. And then what they asked us to do was also do margins. So if we want to set individual margins, we just click on each one and we type in a number. If we want to do all four the same, we click the middle icon. So it says click to change all the properties. So it links them all together. And then I'll type in 10. And I don't have to put the px on that because that's the default unit that is used. So that's 10 pixels. And then the other one, so this is in your layout category. The other property that we had to add was a border. So we click on border, and then we can choose top border, right, bottom, and left. And here we want all four sides. So the width is going to be the thin, style, whatever style, and then I'm just going to do black. No, that's white. So now I have margins, my floating of none, and my color of black defined globally for image float. Okay, so for the smartphone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that to my image. So to do that, I'm just going to make sure it's already applied. So let me just take this off. So to apply any style, we just click on the element, we go to our Properties Inspector. See if I can shrink this in here. I wish it would allow me to resize the Property Inspector. Anyway, you go to Class, and then you find your class, so image float. Now you'll notice that it didn't do anything, didn't change anything, because we've only defined it for our smartphone. So if I come to iPhone 6s, I see that nothing floats up next to it. I can see that the margins are pushing in, and I mentioned this in my on-campus class. If you don't like that being pushed in, you can come back to the CSS Designers panel. Let me go back to source code here, all, image float. I feel like I lost my styles. Global, image float, there they are. If I don't like that being pushed in, I can just simply change. I have to uncheck that so it doesn't do all four. I can just simply change this one to be 0, and now you can see that it pushed it back over. So again, you can mess around with these properties too. So let's go ahead and do one that redefines it for the tablet, which will then trickle down into the desktop. So SU styles, not global this time, but tablet. Got to create a new selector again, same name. And the only thing that I want to change on this is its float. So the float is going to be left. So now if I collapse the CSS Designers panel down, let me see here. I got float of left. And if I go back to my full size, I can see now that my image is floated left of the content, or you can think of the content just wrapping up around that image. So that's the directions for Striped Umbrella. There's only one image. When you get into Blooms and TripSmart, you also need to do images that float to the right. So it's the same process. You click on SU Styles Global, so what we're going to do for the smartphone, and then we put in our selector of image float right. If you want to call these image float left and image float right, that's fine, as long as you can keep them straight. So the same thing, layout. I'm going to do these of all linked. 10 pixels, and then I'm going to unlink it and change this one to, well, actually change this one to 0 because we're now floating to the right. And then float of none to my border, my border, thin, solid, and then I'm going to put my black color in there. Okay, and then I can see by clicking on Show Set that I have my properties and so on. Now again, that's for the smartphone, so then I come back over here and I go for tablet, same thing. Image, float, right. Again, the only thing that I'm redefining is that float property, and I want it to go to right. So now let's see how I can change this. So I'm going to change this to image float right now, and so that you can see the image is floated to the right. So it's nice to have both of these defined in our style sheet for Coffee Shop, because we never know when we're going to want to float an image over to the right. Okay, and you'll be doing that for Blooms and for TripSmart. So again, the most important thing is you need to make sure that you're on source code, that you're on all, that you select the correct source. If you need to add a source through directions, it's just these. So we're not going to create any new. You might attach an existing style sheet, and you might define it in a page. And then you want to make sure that you get the right media. So is it the smartphone we're trying to style for? Is it the tablet we're trying to style for? Or is it desktop we're trying to style for? And remember, they all trickle down. Okay, so whatever is defined here is inherited here unless redefined. And then From there, you just click on the plus symbol. If I accidentally create something that I don't want, I just select it and I can click on the remove selector icon as well. So I hope this helps you understand the CSS Designers panel more. Again, just a reminder that once you've defined the style, you need to apply it through the Properties Inspector using the class property. So if I were to select text, it would be the same thing, and I would look for it in this list. If you have any more questions, Angela, please let me know. Thank you.